Hi everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to view this training video. I thought it'd be a little bit easier to do a video as opposed to organizing 100 people to attend a training. Please be sure to watch this video in its entirety. It's really important to understand, even if you're not serving in a certain classroom, what the expectations are for that class, what goes on in that class, what age group that class has. So please make sure to watch the whole video. I've got a couple of quiz questions I've asked you guys to respond to this email with the answers of. So like I said, please watch the whole video, and if you have any questions, of course, let me know. All right, so we're gonna go over our policies and procedures. I've attached it to this email. I am highlighting a couple of changes, so please make sure to review our policies and procedures. So we're going to just start out right away with our roles in our children's ministry. Our teachers, I think the most obvious role are in our toddlers, our preschool, and our Sunday school class. Teachers are expected to have curriculum prepared for the week. They're really the point person and the leader for the room. That person in the nursery is the team leader, who I schedule every week as well. Assistants help the teachers with craft, diaper changing, bringing kids to the restroom, female only, and really classroom management as a whole. The teacher really sets the pace for the classroom, and the assistant comes alongside. The room greeters, those are the people that I assign to assist and facilitate check-in and check-out, which I'll go over in detail a bit later. And then I also have people assisting with setup. Right now I get to the Marriott around 6 o'clock on Sunday mornings. So it's really helpful to have people assisting me with setup. It takes quite a bit of time to not only get the room situated with the play mats, with the toys, getting the tables set up, things like that, but we also disinfect all of our toys the morning of. Mainly because when service is over, when we disinfect, if we were to disinfect everything, they just go back in the truck and sit there all week. So I like to have things kind of disinfected and ready to go. I do take some toys home with me during the week and really scrub them as well, but I don't take all of them home. So those are our different roles in our children's ministry. If you have any interest in becoming a teacher, this is a really great time because we are holding teacher trainings on February 24th and February 25th, so this coming Sunday and Monday. You only have to attend one. They're both going to be the same thing, but the one on the 24th will be right after second service in our Sunday school room, and the one on the 25th will be held at the church office at 6 p.m. And really, we're just going to go over the curriculum for the quarter. We'll go over a little bit of classroom management stuff and really any questions that teachers have. So if you are a teacher or if you're interested in becoming a teacher, shoot me an email and let me know which you plan on attending. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be highlighting a couple of changes, one of those being our scheduling. So I spend a great deal of time right now each week scheduling our volunteers for each one of our classrooms. So up until now, I've tried to do the schedule on the 15th of the month prior and schedule for the whole month. So I have found that with that, I spend a lot of time focusing on the schedule and not a lot of time focusing on some other really important aspects of children's ministry. So I will begin scheduling our volunteers quarterly, meaning 3 months at a time. So the month before that quarter, I'll spend time scheduling for the next 3 months. So if you have not already done so, please take some time to put in your unavailability in Alvanto and just keep this as up to date as possible. Doing the schedule is a lot like a jigsaw puzzle sometimes, so keeping that accurate really helps me to make the schedule as seamless as possible. So please do that, and if you have any questions with how to put in your unavailability in Alvanto, let me know, And if I don't know the answer, I will ask Miss Brooke Smith to assist with that because she knows Elvanto, I think, better than anybody does. So take some time to do that. You should be seeing an invitation for serving for the next 3 months in the next couple of days, definitely before our teacher trainings when I hand out the curriculum. If you ever find yourself unable to serve on a Sunday that you're scheduled, please let me know as soon as possible. The earlier the better, because then that gives us more time to find a replacement. In that situation, I'll send you 3 names of people that are trained for your position that you're serving in. And I'll ask that you contact those people, and whoever is able to either switch serving days with you or to cover for you, just let me know who that is so I can change it in the system and keep record of that. And then if you find yourself unavailable to serve the morning of that service, text me or call me as soon as possible. Please don't email me because I won't see that until probably Monday or Tuesday. I typically don't check my email on Sunday mornings just because I'm busy setting up and things like that. But I do check my text messages, and I have my phone with me to receive calls as well. So please let me know. Please also keep in mind that if obviously emergencies happen. If you're sick, I want you to stay home. If you have a family emergency, I want you to be there. But when you are unable to serve on a Sunday, if we're not able to find somebody to cover for you, typically that either means that I have to cover, which is taking me away from my responsibilities and meeting new families and making sure I'm available to volunteers who need me, maintaining the safest possible environment, which is my priority for our kids. That's pulling me away from those responsibilities. Or that means that we can't have a classroom open. I've not had that be a situation quite yet, but I really don't want that to be a situation that we're not able to offer a classroom to our kids and to our families. So just keep those things in mind. Keep me updated on your schedule as much as possible if you're unable to serve, so that we can go ahead and find you a replacement as soon as possible. One update I do want to highlight just real briefly is our fire alarm and evacuation policy. Obviously, this has changed since we've been at Bear Lakes Middle School. We, with our current policy, we evacuate all of our kids to under the tent right outside the conference center entrance. I'm sure you guys have all seen it. But when we are evacuating our kids, please have them exit by the door located by the Sunday school room. That exit that kind of leads to that open outside patio type area. Turn to the left, and that brings you right to the back of the white tent. So in a situation where we would need to evacuate our classrooms, the first thing to do is to count how many volunteers and how many children are in that classroom. Take your roster with you. I'd recommend having the children hold hands as well. It just keeps everybody together a little bit easier. And then have one volunteer at the front of the line of the children, one volunteer at the back of the line, and if you have a third volunteer, to have that person in the middle, just for extra oversight. And then when you get to the pavilion, have the kids maintain that line and facilitate checkout with the bookmark system to the best of your ability. Obviously, with a situation that involves an evacuation, things are bound to get a little chaotic. If you have somebody who's trying to pick up a child and they don't have their bookmark because they left it in the sanctuary or something happened, let me know. I'll obviously be there helping to facilitate that process. Just let myself or Pastor Clint know so we can just confirm identity of who's supposed to be picking that child up. So again, just make sure that you're exiting through that door, count your children, count your volunteers, and count them again when you get outside to make sure that you have everybody that you left with as well. Also, just another safety item, Jason Bradshaw, who does a lot of our security for a church, trains our security and usher team as well, has provided us with some orange bands for each classroom that I set next to your rosters or your check-in table each service. So the situation that you'd use those for is if there was, for any reason that you heard over your walkie or from a church leader or myself, that you need to lock your classroom. You would feed the orange band through the two kind of pole-looking things on the door. Feed them through, feed the buckle or the end of the strap through the buckle, and then tighten it and slide that pin so that it stays in place. Again, this is just to maintain safety if that kind of situation arises. Also know that we do have an officer present at the Marriott every week now, and he or she is typically stationed in that Gospel Kids area and just observing who's coming through that area as well. If you ever see anybody suspicious in the Gospel Kids hallway, somebody kind of lurking around the classroom that you don't recognize, any situation like that, anything that makes you uncomfortable, please let myself, let the officer, let Pastor Clint know immediately. That needs to be addressed right away because we want to maintain the safest environment for our kids. So anything that is questionable to you, please let me know immediately. In the situation that first aid would need to be administered to a child, so this is going on to page 4 of our handbook. For a minor injury, things like bumps, scrapes, anything like that, most things can be handled with just a hug and a Band-Aid. If you do need to apply a Band-Aid, please have the child do it. If possible, if they're too young to apply a Band-Aid to themselves, make sure that you're washing your hands or using hand sanitizer and then applying that Band-Aid with gloves on. And make sure you dispose of your gloves and the Band-Aid wrapper afterwards. And again, wash your hands for your own safety and for the child's safety as well. And then if that is the case, please be sure to fill out a incident report form, which is page 21 or Appendix D of our handbook. If you ever need to fill out one of these, just let me know and I'll provide them to you. And if you need help filling that out, I can assist you with that as well. For a serious injury, so this is anything that involves broken bones, a seizure, fainting, anything more serious than a little scrape or a bump, then you would need to calmly address the child. Do not, under any circumstance, move the child because we don't want to make the injury any worse. And then instruct your volunteer that's in the classroom with you to go and to get to the parent of that child and to walkie to the usher and security team to inform them of what happened in the classroom. And we need to instruct someone specific to call 911. So in that kind of situation, things can get crazy really fast. So we want to make sure that we're being very specific with who needs to do what, using their names, pointing to who the person is that needs to do things like call 911 and things like that. And then when that person comes back to the classroom with the parent, the volunteer needs to be conscious of protecting the rest of the kids from whatever happened in the classroom and protecting them from seeing the injured child, because that can be really traumatic for the kids and we don't want to have them looking at the child if it's something that's hard for them to see. So we want to protect them from that as well. Again, we would need to fill out an incident report form for that. And if you have any questions about any kind of serious injuries or incident report form, let me know. Healthy children and allergies. So if a child has any allergies or any specific health things that we need to be aware of, parents are asked to fill that out on the registration cards that we have in our roster binders that I have for you all. This is also a reminder, if you do have new children, please make sure families are filling that out so that I can contact families later on and so they can fill out things like important health information. But those things I then take and put on the roster in that margins notes section for you guys to be aware of. So if a child comes into contact with an allergen, you would follow any instructions given on the roster and follow our serious injury policy. Again, an incident report form would need to be completed, the parent would need to be notified immediately, and somebody would need to go get that parent. For more minor things, as far as health concerns like fever, green runny nose, coughing, vomiting, diarrhea, if you or a child is experiencing those symptoms, you're not permitted, or the child is not permitted in the classroom, just to maintain the health of our classrooms. If this is a problem or you're having trouble communicating that to a parent, let me know and I can help you with that as well. One other thing to keep in mind for allergies is if you do see that a child has an allergy, please ask the parent to label that on the front of the child so that we know whether or not to give them a snack and what their allergen is. Any concerning behaviors like biting or bolting would result in either a child needing to be shadowed during that phase of behavior by the parent, or they would need to be removed from the classroom during that time. Again, this is just to maintain the safest possible environment for our kids. We don't want to place other kids at risk if a child is going through a biting phase, and we don't want to place that child at risk if they're bolting as well. So we would need to have a parent shadow or have the child removed from the classroom for that period of time. Of course, when that phase is complete, we want them to come back and we want them to enjoy the classroom. If a parent is interested in shadowing during that time, they would need to contact me to fill out a background check form. And that really goes for any situation that a parent would like to be in a classroom, such as meeting our maximum capacity for a classroom, which I'll address a little bit later. Please make sure that the people that are in the classroom are people that are volunteers or people that have a background check completed. If you ever have any questions about that, let me know and I can come address it. How to act around children, and this goes for all of our classrooms. We want to make sure that we are valuing each household and how they raise their children. So we don't use any questionable language. You can review that in our handbook. So please be mindful of that. Please be mindful of what you're saying to not only children, but to adults around you as well. Keep in mind that our little ones are hearing a lot of what we communicate. And of course, we never use any physical discipline in any situation in our Gospel Kids classrooms. So we don't spank any of our children. We don't grab anybody forcefully. There should be absolutely no physical discipline at any time in our classrooms. We also encourage side hugs as opposed to full frontal hugs, and encourage children to sit to the side as opposed to on our laps. This is really difficult with our younger kids, but we do want to continue to emphasize that they need to sit next to us rather than in our laps. At any time, there should be a volunteer that is female in the classroom with you. So I'll never schedule two men for a classroom by themselves. I'll always have a female in the classroom with them. And you shouldn't find yourself alone in a classroom. So if you are arriving to service to serve in the Gospel Kids classroom and your second volunteer hasn't shown up yet, please don't start taking children. Don't check children in quite yet if you don't have your second person there. Again, that is to maintain not only the safety for our kids, but also for you as well. Dress code, just be sure to dress modestly. If you ever have any questions about what you're wearing, please let me know. I've never had any issues with dress code, but if you have a question about dress code, let me know. Please be sure to wear your Gospel Kids t-shirt when you serve on Sundays. If you don't have it, if you forgot it, not the end of the world. I have a lanyard that you can wear designating that you're a volunteer, but when you do wear a Gospel Kids t-shirt, it's another layer of accountability, of protection, of identification for parents, so they know that they're dropping their child off with somebody who's been trained for that classroom, who knows how to take care of their child, and they know that that's the person who's caring for them as well. So we do have a maximum capacity policy for our classrooms. For the nursery, it's 1 volunteer to 3 babies. For toddler room, it's 1 volunteer to 5 children, and for the preschool room, it's 1 volunteer to 9 children. There is no maximum capacity for our Sunday school room, but the other ratios are given to us by the state. They aren't something that we've made up. They're given to us by the state. So if you ever find yourself having reached maximum capacity in your classroom, please don't take any more kids. I know it's really hard to turn away kiddos to a classroom, but this is, again, to keep the classroom as safe as possible. And again, if previously we had said that a parent could shadow in the classroom if we had too many kids in there to help kind of bump or even out the ratio, that's now only permitted if they've completed a background check form. This is just to ensure that we have safe people in our classrooms, and we know who's in our classrooms as well. And if you have a parent who's interested in doing that, let me know so I can provide them with the background check form and we can get that process underway. I'm not going to go over the details of each classroom specifically, but more highlight kind of some of the important policies in general. So all classrooms, please arrive about 20 minutes before service starts. So either 8:40 or 10:40. I know this seems early. Typically parents aren't dropping off their kids that early, but this really is a huge, huge help to me. Not only are those extra hands to help disinfect or help me set up anything that still needs to be set up, but this also gives you a time to meet the person you're serving with if you haven't served with them before. It gives you the opportunity to really settle in and prepare for service. And we do have parents that drop kids off before service starts at 9 o'clock. It's usually only about 5 minutes, but this really is more inviting to parents and families when we have our classrooms ready to go, ready to receive kids. It tells families that we're excited for our kids to be there. We look forward to serving and that we're ready to go. This also gives us an opportunity to pray for our classrooms and for our kids before service. I really want to just share the importance of that because this gives us the opportunity to pray for safety of our classroom. It gives us the opportunity to pray for our lesson, that it's well received, that God would quiet our hearts and the hearts of our children, and so that we're all ready to learn. So again, 20 minutes before service is really ideal for you to arrive. And that's across the board in all of our classrooms. For check-in and check-out, so this is nursery through preschool, we use a bookmark policy. I'm sure you all are familiar with it by now, but I just want to highlight and remind you all that if you are the room greeter or the person in charge of check-in that service, please physically check in children yourself. Do not hand over the roster to parents. So for our toddler and preschool room, please stand outside the classroom ready to receive kids. Have parents write their child's name on the masking tape and put it on their kids so that all you're focusing on is who's this child, what bookmark number do they receive, and is there anything specific we need to consider when checking in this child. This really protects families, keeps information private. We don't know what family circumstances are, whether it's a foster situation and that needs to be kept private, whether there's a custody dispute, a divorce situation. Again, we just don't know what's going on and we want to be really respectful of that. So please make sure you're the only one handling the roster. I like to confirm things like phone numbers as well, or any special notes, so that if dad's dropping off or grandma's dropping off, as opposed to whoever normally drops their child off, we have the right contact information to reach them in case of an emergency. And then during pickup, please make sure that you are getting the same bookmark number that you gave back. If you find that the parent lost the bookmark, they left it back in service, whatever the case may be, it's uncomfortable, but please make them go and look for it. We want to make sure that we have the safest possible environment and that the right people are picking up the right children. So please have them go back and get the bookmark. If they genuinely lost it, they can't find it anywhere, let them know that you need to contact me. It's part of our policies and procedures, even if you know them and they're your best friend. Please still contact me, and I will come confirm who they are. Pastor Clint is also somebody else that can do this, confirm who they are and that they can pick up their child. So if you have any questions about check-in or check-out, please let me know. This is something that I'm trying to work on an even better system. I think we've got a good system in place, but I think that we can always make improvements. So I've been working on changing this system as well. So just be on the lookout for that. Obviously, I'll provide any training to you all when the time comes for that to change, but just be on the lookout. As far as diaper changing goes for nursery and toddler, only our female volunteers change diapers. And before you change a diaper, please make sure that everything is ready for you. You have all your materials out and ready to go. Everything's already disinfected before you place a child on the changing table. We don't want to leave a child unattended there for them to roll off or anything like that. So please make sure everything's prepared. Use the changing pads. Make sure you're disinfecting the changing base before you're putting the changing pad down. Dispose of that pad after each child. Wear latex gloves whenever you're changing a child's diaper. And just for the sake of the smell of the classroom, please place all diapers in the green bags that I provide for you there. And I also want to make sure that we're communicating whether a child had their diaper changed or not, and make sure that if a child is in diapers that you're checking to see if they need to be changed throughout service. We don't want to be having parents pick up their children who have been sitting in wet or dirty diapers all service. So please make sure you're being aware of that as well. If a parent brings a snack or a bottle for nursery or toddler, a snack for the toddlers, if they don't eat goldfish, then please make sure they're being labeled. Bottles should be ready to go for you. So if it's formula, then the parent should be making the bottle and having it prepared for you if you need to feed the baby. And then in the nursery, if you have a baby who just won't settle in, won't stop crying, anything like that, and they've gone beyond whatever the designated time that the parent is comfortable with letting them cry for, call the parent. Please do not leave the classroom to comfort the child, especially in the nursery. Parents drop their babies off in the nursery expecting to find them there and to not leave there. The only time we leave the classroom in any of our other rooms is if a child needs to go to the restroom. So same situation. Please never leave the classroom with a child unless you're bringing them to the restroom. And I know it's frustrating in the nursery because typically if one baby's crying, it sets a chain reaction off and then everybody's crying. But again, this is just for accountability and to keep the safest possible environment. And if there's no designated time on the sheet with how long to let someone cry, I usually ask them when they drop them off. But if there's no designated time, then let them know sooner rather than later. And please make sure that you're getting and confirming phone numbers as well so that you know how to contact a parent. As far as toddler goes, check-in for toddlers in preschool. Please, the room greeters, please check in and check out kids standing outside of the classroom with the door shut. It just maintains a little bit more control and makes sure that we don't have the door opening and closing every 2 seconds or leaving the door open for kids to sneak out. So please make sure you're doing that. I have a general schedule listed for the toddler room. Please keep in mind that the toddlers do need a good amount of free play, but we do want to value our Bible time. This is really our opportunity in all of our classrooms. Our goal is to train our kids to be in worship with the adults. That is our goal across the board, is we're training our kids, we're communicating the gospel, and we're training them to be in service. So we want to make sure that we're doing that in our toddler room as well. But our toddlers do need a good amount of free play as well. Same for our preschool and Sunday school room. We do have a schedule as well, and we want to be sticking to it as consistently as we can. Obviously, things happen and sometimes things don't go according to plan. So there is grace in that as well. But for as much as we can, keeping to a schedule so that we maintain consistency, so our children feel safe, and so that we can get in a rhythm. Let's see. Our age range for each classroom is, for nursery, is infants to 18 months. From 18 months to about potty trained or 3 years old in our toddler room. Preschool is 3 years old to 5, and then our Sunday school room is kindergarten through 5th grade. For our Sunday school check-in, we don't do check-in the same way that we do our other classrooms, but again, we are looking to update some of those things. Kids are dismissed right before the sermon. I stand at the back of the sanctuary and kind of collect the kids to come to one door, and then we all exit together, and I ask them to line up in a single file line and ask them to remain quiet. So the reason that we've started doing this is it gives the kids an opportunity to really quiet their hearts, prepare themselves just like we prepare ourselves for worship. We want them to prepare themselves to enter the classroom, and it really just sets the tone for what we expect in the classroom. So we want them to listen attentively. We want them to, to be quiet while we're talking, and we want things to maintain order. So Pastor Clint has really been the one that stands outside to receive the kids and to get them to line up. If you're serving in Sunday school, please try and check in with the other volunteers that you're serving with to see who's going to be standing outside, who will stand at the back of the sanctuary, and all walking in the classroom together. Keyword is walking. They really like to run down that hallway. So please be sure to do that before every service or before you take your kids into the Sunday school room. And then for checkout for that room, please make sure that the kids stay seated. It can get crazy if the kids are running around. This is a really great time to ask them to clean up their own area. So have them check under their seats, clean up their crayons from the table. But having them sit in their seats while they're waiting for their parents just maintains a little bit of control, and then you can call the child to the back of the room to be dismissed one at a time. That also gives you a time to really communicate how their child did that day. And please, in every room, please make sure that we're communicating what needs to be worked on, but also what the child did really well. We don't want to only focus on the negative. We want to communicate what the children are doing really well as well. For our bathroom policy, again, only female volunteers are bringing kids to the restroom, so please keep that in mind. Toddlers can go one at a time. We don't want to be chasing 3 toddlers all over the sanctuary, so please only bring them one at a time. Preschool, you can take 3 at a time according to gender, so all girls can go together, all boys can go together. I have them hold hands as we walk back to the restroom. Again, this just kind of maintains a little bit of control. They really like to run down the hallway, and they really like to talk loudly by the sanctuary doors. So just reiterate that we don't want to do that. And then for the preschoolers, I ask that after they're done using the restroom, they obviously wash their hands and then sit on the bench in the women's restroom while they wait for everybody to finish, and then we walk out together. Sunday school, we can take 4 at a time. They don't need to hold hands down the hallway when they're older, but please remind them not to run and not to talk loudly, and please take them according to gender. And we all use the women's restroom outside of the sanctuary. This is because women can go in the restroom while the children are in the stalls. We can go in the restroom and make sure it's a secure situation while we wait for the kids. Just gives us a little bit of extra control. If you do, I haven't encountered this before, but if you do have a child that's uncomfortable using the ladies' room, let me know, and we can get the parent and just say, this is our policy. If your child prefers to use the men's room, we totally understand. We need you to be the one kind of overseeing that. Also, especially in our Sunday school room, the kids all like to use the restroom around the same time. Please ask if it's an emergency and try and push it back as far as possible. Obviously, if they need to go, they need to go. But oftentimes this is kind of a cue that they are a little restless. So changing up an activity is a great thing to do when they're all starting to ask to use the restroom around the same time. But we also don't want to spend all of our time during Sunday school bringing kids to the bathroom, and we don't want them to miss out on the Bible story as well. So I just want to highlight our discipline policy really quickly. This is consistent in all of our classrooms, and this is really to respect parents' discipline style at home as well. So this is on page 18 of our handbook, Appendix A. Please be sure during each class to remind kids of what the rules are for the classroom. I have them listed at the bottom of the page. Kids aren't going to know how to act if we don't tell them how we want them to act. So remind them of the rules at the beginning of the class and remind them frequently as well. It's really easy for them to forget that they're not supposed to run in the classroom, that they're not supposed to talk when the teacher's talking. So please offer them grace and remind them of the rules often. But when we have somebody that is violating a rule, we want to make sure that we are following our discipline policy. So we kind of have like a 3-strike rule. The first time a child violates our policy or our rules, we approach them, we pretend that they have rule amnesia and that they forgot the rule. We pull them aside gently, not in front of the whole class, but we pull them aside, we remind them of the rule, and remind them of what the expectations are, and ask them to repeat it to us. So, for example, we use our hands to love and help, we don't hit. Our class rule is to keep our hands to ourselves. So the second time they violate a rule, we ask them to remind us of the rule, and we remind them that if they break the rule again, so this is a warning, if they break the rule again, then their parent needs to be contacted and they need to be picked up from the classroom. This seems harsh, but this is to keep the safety of the classroom, to protect the kids in the classroom, to protect that child, and to protect the volunteers as well. We want to make sure that we're all respecting the rules and that we have a very consistent way to respond to behaviors. So if they do break the rule a third time, please text the parent and request for them to pick up their child. Phone numbers are listed on the roster, and if you need help finding a parent, please let me know. So if you have any questions about the discipline policy, please let me know. And also, please be sure that we are following this to the best of our ability so that, again, we can just provide consistency. We have a lot of inconsistency with our children's ministry right now just because we have so many different volunteers serving each week. It can be really hard to maintain consistency, so we want to make sure that that is consistent. Please take time to read over symptoms of molestation or bloodborne pathogens. Review the incident report form. Just be really familiar with all of these, especially just in any situation that you feel that something feels a little off. A child said something that doesn't sit right with you. You see somebody that is suspicious in our Gospel Kids area. Anything that just seems a bit off to you, please let me know immediately. Either myself, Pastor Clint, a security team member. Please just communicate that as soon as possible so that we can protect our kids, we can protect our volunteers, and so that we can do our jobs well. There's also some really great resources on page 19 as far as symptoms of molestation and just protecting our kids well if you guys are interested in that. And then the last page of our volunteer handbook is a map of the facility. It's also really great to be familiar with this as well, so you know where the other classrooms are, so you know which bathroom to use with the children, and so you know how to exit the building in case of an emergency with the children. Again, you'd be using the exit closest to the Sunday school room and then walking around kind of the back area there to the back side of that tent. All right, just a couple more things to go over. Just as a reminder, we do have some youth helpers that assist in our classrooms, which is wonderful. They are such a blessing to have in the room. Our kids love when we have youth helping out in our classrooms. Let's just make sure that our youth are not, for any reason, taking our kids to the bathroom, and that they're not leaving the classroom at any time. Also, just as a reminder, please text me, call me, communicate in some way that if you're ever alone in a classroom and need another person in there, either myself or somebody else will come and assist you with that. And I just want to also share one more time, I know that we've communicated this a lot, but if you are at all interested in serving either in a teaching position or an assistant position for longer than just one service once a month, please let me know. This is such an incredible blessing to our children. It just provides so much more consistency. Even just having one familiar face that's there every Sunday is great, but to have a teacher teaching for a semester or a month at a time is a huge blessing as well, because they know what happened the week before. Things are consistent as far as the classroom schedule goes. I just saw a huge transformation in our preschool room last semester during first service, and it was just incredible. Every single one of those kids knew their memory verse every single week. They reiterated the Bible story to me every time I saw them. It was an incredible blessing to see, and it really forms just a better opportunity for discipleship. You know, we often think that, you know, adults are the one that need to be discipled, and we absolutely do, but our children also need to be discipled as well, and I don't want us to forget about that. I also want to thank Justin Archer and Caitlin Steitler for committing to now 2 semesters of teaching our Sunday school classroom. The past couple of weeks watching those kids walk to their Sunday school room has been amazing. Nobody's running, everybody's quiet. I walk by the room and they're all just so intently listening to their story. They're so committed to memorizing their memory verses. It's been incredible to see. So if you are interested in serving for longer periods of time, please let me know. Yes, this is a huge blessing to the kids, but it's also a huge blessing to me to know that we've got consistency in our classroom, and it makes scheduling a little bit easier as well. So please let me know if you're interested in that. If you're interested in becoming a teacher, please let me know which teacher training you'd like to attend, and just in general, if you are a teacher, please make sure that you're attending one of those and communicating which one you'll be at. Right now, we don't have anybody attending our Monday teacher training, so if you would like to attend that one, please make sure to let me know as soon as possible. And I am going to be handing out curriculum for the entire 13 weeks at that time, so be prepared to take a bit of material with you if you are a teacher. Also, please be putting in your blockout dates in Elvanto. If you have any problems with Elvanto, let myself or Brooke Smith know and we can help you with that. And just be reminded that I am scheduling for 3 months at a time now. So that schedule should be going out here shortly, and just be sure to keep your unavailability as up to date as possible. Also, I tend to make mistakes and forget which service that you guys prefer to serve. So there's a way that you can input that into Elvanto. I'm not sure what that is from your all's end. I know how to do it on my end. So if I continue to make those mistakes, please let me know so that I can be sure to change that, and just be reminded of that as well. So the last thing that I will say, and I know I mentioned this during our congregational meeting, but regardless of where you're serving, whether you're an assistant, you're helping with setup, whether you're a teacher, let's all just really be committed to prayer for our children's ministry. I think we sometimes think that children's ministry is only for, you know, the people that are just great with kids, and yes, I think that that's true, but I think we take vows during membership to raise our children in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord, and that's really for the whole congregation. Not everybody's gifted to be in the classroom with children, and not everybody should be in the classroom with children. But I think we can all be praying for the people that are, for the children that are, for the families that are taking these children home and ministering to them, every other moment of the week. We get them for an hour and a half, but parents are taking them home and they're tasked with the responsibility of ministering to them all the rest of the time. So please make sure that we're praying for that as well. And if you're interested in being more involved in our children's ministry as far as planning VBS, helping with planning things like Easter and Advent or any other special events, please let me know. I need help. It's impossible for me to do all of children's ministry on my own, which I am learning very quickly. And please let me know if you're interested in assisting with any of that as well. I'm really excited about VBS, so if you have a desire to help out with that, whether it's planning or volunteering, please let me know. And just in general, let me know if you have any questions. My phone number is listed in my email signature, so you can contact me there or via email. So thank you all so much for bearing with me for the past 46 minutes. Again, please be sure you've watched the whole thing, answer the questions that are in the email so I know that you watched the video. And don't forget to RSVP to our teacher training as well. Thank you guys so much, and I appreciate everything you do. I know it's not easy work, and you all do it so well. So I look forward to seeing you all on Sundays.